All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. Our next BitAngels presentation is Mr. David Lake. He is the CEO of Awakening Health. Got to see a little bit about this project the other day, and we're looking forward to learning a lot more now. So please, David, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is
this click?
Yes.
Very nice to be at CoinAgenda for the first time. Basically, this is the first time I've been anywhere in 3 years, having been stuck in Hong Kong for most of the COVID. It's hard to get out. But luckily, I was stuck with David Hansen, who was a good friend and partner, and work a lot with Ben Gertzel, who you've seen both of them presenting earlier as part of our ecosystem for Singularity Net and Hansen Robotics and the Sophia DAO. So these are projects that I do a lot of work on, but my most important one at the moment now is Awakening Health. And Awakening Health is a combination of all of these things in one. Once again, we're into the robotics, and the AI is behind it all. However, when I see the presentations here today, a lot of these presentations are dealing with very niche areas. But in our case, we're dealing with a massive area of healthcare. And you can see by the numbers and by any measure that the digital transformation in the healthcare sector is going on at full speed. There's a tremendous amount of activity going on across all elements and all factors. Artificial intelligence has an incredible role to play in all this. So the digital side is very important. In terms of where we are now on the curve, actually, it's very interesting to see oops, sorry about that. My clicker is a little bit delayed.
Pointing to the front.
Pointing to the front. Okay. So basically, sorry about that. We are at a point now where, technology is having this incredible impact on the healthcare segment, but we're dealing with, a body that has been genetically designed in the Stone Ages, and in a lot of ways our administrative systems and hospital networks are going back, 10 decades in terms of where we should be. So when we started to think about how we integrate AI robotics into the healthcare sector, we wanted to do so in a way that was important to be compassionate, benevolent, and able to communicate with people. So, we took the world's most famous humanoid robot in Sophia and we made her into Grace. And that combination that we have here is the AI of Singularity Net, of which Ben Gertzel was talking about, and the fantastic robotics work of Hansen Robotics to create this digital transformation. The challenges of the ecosystem of medical support are incredible in many ways, and we saw this with COVID. And the basic problem that we had was that we just don't have enough staff, and the shortages of staff and medical nurses and all of this was quite evident. So the hospitals were really in dire need, and the ability to deliver healthcare at this level was just not there in many cases. However, it goes much deeper than that, in that we started to look at areas that we could have the greatest impact, and that was in elderly care and also in the neurodegenerative disease area, as well as autism. So we started to look at what kind of treatments were out there, and we found out that in terms of mental disorders, there's a tremendous amount of people who are getting no treatment whatsoever, and some that are getting half treatments, and some that are waiting 10 years for treatments. So there's a big lack of support in terms of these areas. And autism in particular, we found to be very, very receptive to the robotic interface. So this was one of the big issues that we found ourselves facing is, okay, how do we deal with that? And how do we deal with that with a robot? And how do we interface with the hospitals to make them understand that what we're going to do for the world is going to be something that's very transformative, which has been quite a challenge in many ways, because people still kind of fear robots, and we always hear the same questions about the dangers of superintelligence and the dangers of AI. So we're working at making that different. And in terms of what we created a super powerful entity. So not only is Grace very empathetic and compassionate and able to have facial expressions that will bring her patients into the treatment, she's also equipped with a fantastic capture for biodata and all sorts of different elements that make her quite special. The biodata component, I think, is really important given our AI background. And, we have had people come to approach us to talk about whether we could set up something for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer, where we could do progression detection and monitoring of Alzheimer. And they felt that Grace could be there with the elderly person, capture all the feelings, the facial expressions, the vocal expressions, and everything like that, to be able to provide this sort of pattern that we could then collect in the back through our data analysis. And then we thought also that we should do different kinds of robots, because a Grace robot is rather expensive, but some of the treatments that we have, we can actually do with smaller size robots that we're designing now, and what we call the rolling tablet, which is a TEMI robot. So there's many different ways for us to interface, including avatars. Avatars and digital health are an important component of all this. So when we provide the AI solution on digital transformation, once again, we're going into the behavioral treatments and support, and we look to build upon a brand that we already have. So far, we've probably invested internally $3 or $4 million on this platform, but that's already on a very large base of investment put into Hanson Robotics and also into Singularity Net. So while we're a startup, we're actually a startup that is starting on top of a big foundation of technology. Also, what is interesting is that we have a chance to go across a number of areas. And when we talk about digital transformation, it's quite clear that introducing robots into elderly care and introducing robots into different clinics is going to be a challenge that we have to deal with inside the whole healthcare system. But we have a lot of opportunity on the app side and the avatar side to be able to bring the same solutions that we have on the robotic side to the people directly in this manner. So we can develop our own health app stores, and we also benefit from the metaverse work that's going on at Sophia DAO that we can implement into virtual medicine as well. So these are areas that we're quite excited about. And I feel that, we have a chance to really do something that's going to be unique. I suspect it's kind of like, it'll take some time before the acceptance is there. But if we get in now and become a first mover in this place, we should be able to hold a big market share. And, the elderly care side has been quite interesting. We've already done a couple of major studies in Montreal and in Hong Kong with elderly care patients. And that's the use case for that is developing nicely. We find that there's a lot of interest in the different modules that we put together for the healthcare, elderly care segment. But the elderly care segment is one area that really lends itself to robotics and the support of robots in healthcare. So this is what we do at Awakening Health, and a combination of everything that is in our ecosystem that Bill Inman and David Hansen and Ben Gertzo are creating across a number of areas can be implemented into this platform, which is basically a biodata capture platform that is ready to become a world leader in the digital transformation of medical. So that's what we're doing at Awakening Health, and it's a little bit broader than some of the stuff that we've seen, but I think it's going to benefit from Web3 and the work that we're doing in that segment. And I look forward if there's any questions about healthcare and robotics. Yes.
Is there any thought for like PTSD events? Because I hear they respond really well to AI too.
Well, I think that there's a lot of interesting, like, you know, the robot in the loop. Like right now, especially in the case of autism, like the robot is being, we have robot management systems that are being directing the interface with 5,000 autistic patients through our friends in Italy and Sicily, and called RoboMate. And we're looking at implementing that platform into Grace. But you can see, I've seen some incredible footage about how the robot can bring the autistic child out of their shell. And we've already seen studies too that there's a 30% greater efficiency in using a robot to communicate with autistic children than to have an actual person doing that. So in this case, we're directing the robot, human-like, through the robot management system, but that interface with the child is all robotic. And they love it, I think. Yes?
More a question about the whole autism thing. Why do you think that is? Is it because for however long the autistic kids are treated differently by people, and if you put them in an environment with friendlier people who treat them better, it would have the same effect as if we give them a robot to talk to? Or
I think it's also, I think that's exactly right. I think there's a couple of things that go on there. Number one, the autistic person is a little bit uncomfortable with people, but not with machines. And the second thing that I find very interesting is that when the robot is there, there's no judgmental issues, which is also very good in the healthcare area with people who have, you know, Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or something like that. They don't feel like they're being judged when they talk to a robot. And this we found to be really, really important. Sorry, yeah.
so, what would be the correlation between, or sorry, the comparison between the robots for this purpose versus changing cultures, for instance, for the autistic, for the treatment of the autism?
You mean the changing culture of a robot and dealing that rather than a therapist?
So, using the robot for therapy to have someone to provide it versus just going from, say, moving your family from America to China, where it's a completely different culture, which might be more conducive to.
Yeah, I really haven't seen any studies on where your environment is affecting the autistic component of the child. I suspect it won't be a big difference, but it would be interesting to know. I know you had, sorry, Russell? Yeah?
The question that when you anticipate deploying the first robots out in the field?
I think we can be doing this in the first quarter. We're ready now with the prototypes are done. And that's why we were looking at the autism programs with the Italians, because they already have done this. They've implemented it in the field. So we become this biodata, support tool for them. And, Grace is able to do that. Sorry.
Part of the Sophia DAO?
No, this is totally separate. Yes, we're raising. Well, we're looking about the current valuation's around 50 million. We're looking to raise between 5 and 10 million on the next round. Equity, pure equity. But it's like we're looking at hybrid instruments too. That with Sophia DAO and others. But right now we're just sort of talking to people about that particular thing. Now that I'm being kicked off, thank you for that question, though.
Thank you so much.